Hey gang, welcome back to Joyful Homestead. It is officially now the dead of winter. The shortest day of the year was yesterday, so I'm still kind of in mourning over the loss of the sun.
Moment of silence, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we used to live in the north. It was a lot colder for a lot longer. And even though we live in the south now, we still have winter. And like tonight is going to be 18 degrees. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be rough. And there's some hard things, some challenges to that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked in the past about how to winterize your garden and things like that, but winterizing ourselves is a thing. It's true that, there's mental and there's physical effects of the winter, the shorter days, and then less sun and the cold and the dryness and all of that. And we've learned some things as homesteaders we'd like to pass along, basically to kick winter's butt.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that a lot of people complain about in the winter are cold hands and feet. We have a Homestead remedy for cold hands and feet, cayenne peppers. We recommend you grow your own cayenne pepper plants. Super easy to grow every year. They grow great, and the cayenne peppers are so very medicinal. Our favorite herbalist that we follow, he says that if he only had one medicinal remedy in his tool belt, it would be cayenne peppers. There are a lot of different uses for cayenne medicinally. It is a stimulant, so it will help your sinus passages, it helps your digestion and gut. And because it's a stimulant, it also helps your circulation. And that's where it comes in the winter months. If you make a tincture of cayenne pepper, you actually will have more circulation to your extremities and therefore will feel warmer. The only materials you need for your cayenne tincture are cayenne and alcohol. Now the cayenne can be in the powdered form, which you can buy at the store. We buy organic cayenne, but we also have the fruits. We plant the plants, and you can do the dried or the fresh fruits. Typically, when I use the fresh, I go ahead and I cut the stems off of the fruit, and then I throw it into the alcohol. When you use the fruits, whether fresh or dried, you want to use a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 part alcohol to 1 part of the peppers themselves. Now, if you want to use the powder, you want to make sure to do a 5-to-1 ratio, which means 5 parts of your alcohol to 1 part of your cayenne powder. That's the difference between the two. Otherwise, there's really no difference. But I do cut off the ends, and all I do is really just throw those peppers into the alcohol. We use the vodka 80 to 100 proof, and what that does is it infuses the medicinal goodness of the peppers into the alcohol. You leave it on your shelf covered and sealed. We use these nice lids here from peanut butter jars on our mason jars, and we just put them on the shelf for about 8 weeks. Now, this one's about 6 weeks in, this one's about 7 weeks in, so we should be using this one really soon. And we can actually open it up. I'll open this one up here because I can actually smell the peppery goodness in that. It's really going to work. I'll show you in a second how I distribute that into my smoothie in the morning. Now here's a finished bottle of cayenne tincture. We recommend using a dropper bottle because it is very strong, and you only want to use about 3 to 5 drops starting out. We recommend putting it in a glass of water, 8 to 12 ounces of water, or maybe some juice. And depending on how sensitive you are to the heat, you can build up from there. I'm up to about 15 drops at a time. And I really can tell the difference in my circulation, my sinus passages, my digestive system. The hands and feet are not as cold anymore. I would recommend looking into this and making some of your own.
Did you know that if you keep your kidneys warmer, all of you stays warmer? I didn't know this until a couple years ago, and Dan did some research, and he bought me this really cool gift. It is a kidney wrap. This is 100% merino wool, and so, of course, wool is going to keep you warmer anyway, but it is wrapped around my midsection so that I keep those kidneys warmer. Our kidneys are closest to the surface of all the organs, and so you want to keep extra insulation around it with something like this in the wintertime, and then your body doesn't have to work as hard to keep the core part of you warmer. It can warm the extremities of your body a lot easier. So pretty cool, right? In the winter, when the weather's cold and the humidity is low, even when I stay hydrated, I have trouble with chapped, cracked, peeling lips. And I've tried so many different things over the store. I try to keep it all natural, what I use, but the products didn't have the ingredient that was working for me. And so I'm super excited that goat's milk chapstick is working. A friend of mine who makes goat milk products does soap, does laundry detergent, and so she had suggested that might work for a chapstick as well. So I had to find one online, but I did find one that is working great, and I'm thrilled that the ingredients are good for my body and it's working.
Winter is really hard on our skin. You might be in a profession where you have to wash your hands a lot and they get chapped and dry. You might find that you get dry skin on your elbows or on your knees. Winter is really hard on our skin, and well, I have a home remedy for this made out of flowers, calendula flowers. Calendula is a summer flower that you can take the whole petal and flower head off, and you can dry those flowers, and you can make all kinds of neat skin remedies out of them. This salve here is super easy. It's made basically with beeswax, a carrier oil, and the calendula itself. Let me show you how to do it. All right, let's look at the different components of our salve separately. First of all, we've got the beeswax. We have a 1 pound block of beeswax here. I'm not going to use it all this time. This will last a long time. And we actually use a cheese grater to take this off of here. We want about 1 ounce of the grated particles. You might use a box grater as well. That might help. If anybody has any better ideas than a cheese grater, please put them in the comments below, because this can be a little tedious. I use a little bit more than 1 ounce. The recipe calls for 1 ounce, but if you want something that's a little more balm-like substance when you're finishing the product, then you probably want a little more, and that's what I like, rather than lotion-like, which is a little softer. And go ahead and take care of that. And then you need 1 ounce of oil, a carrier oil. Here I have 3/4 of a cup of olive oil and 1/4 cup of coconut oil. You need 1 ounce of oil, and it can be mix and match. Some people use more coconut oil. Some people use things like almond oil or avocado oil. What you need basically is a typical carrier oil, and the different benefits of the oils can be mixed and matched in that 1 ounce. And then the third thing that you need is your calendula. Now we have a calendula powder that's concentrated. We buy it online. We don't grow the flowers ourselves. Well, I use 2 tablespoons of the calendula powder in my recipe. Now you can grow your own flowers or collect them. What you want to do is collect the flower petals and heads, and then go ahead and put them in the carrier oil and submerge them for about 6 to 8 weeks. What will happen is those flower medicinals will infuse into the oil itself. Then you can use the oil in this recipe just like I'm doing here. But for our use, we're going to go ahead and use the online powder. So you go ahead and grate off 1 ounce or a little more, and you get to collect the other things, and we'll be back to cook it.
On your stovetop, start with a double boiler pan. The oil and wax mixture should never be exposed to the direct heat of the burners. Add 1 cup of carrier oil. Remember, different oils have different properties and health benefits. Next, add 1 ounce of beeswax, and finally, add your calendula. With pre-prepared infused oil, this step is not necessary because the oil will already have the medicine in it. Mix until all are combined. Then, pour into containers before the mixture starts to harden. Jelly jars work very well for this process. Shallow containers also work best. You will notice that the mixture is very thick with bits of the herb visible. Pre-infused oils will not have this same challenge.
With the bits and the pieces, you're going to have it wanting to settle at the bottom. The way I combat that is I go ahead about halfway through the drying and the cooling process, and I stir that up a little bit so that it mixes back in, and typically it does a good job. Here's a finished product on a little bit more of a nicer type of jar that we can give away as presents for Christmas or something like that, but this is basically what it looks like when you are finished and when it completely dries. And it has a balmy feel to it, and it will start to melt when it touches your skin. But this is the type of stuff that you put on. You can put it on eczema, put it on dry skin. We have a couple of friends that actually use calendula for diaper rash as well. So this is a really nice product. We like to use it here at the house. It is a fantastic way to beat winter.
I love my hot packs. I learned how to make these, and then I just fill them with flax or rice and microwave them so they're nice and toasty warm. So all I needed was some cotton fabric, cotton thread, and a sewing machine, and the ability to sew a straight line, or find somebody who knows how to do that. But these are fantastic. I made this longer one so that it could go around my shoulders or across my lap. I put it underneath the sheets before I jump into bed at night so that my sheets are nice and warm by the time I get in. These are wonderful.
Sometimes I think our dog Charlie over here is the smartest person in the house. He always seems to find the sunshine when it comes through the window and wants to lay in the sun and get warm. You know, we can take a hint from Charlie. There's something called passive solar, and when the sun comes in from a south or west facing window and it absorbs into some wood or some stone or some tile, you can build up some heat in those substrates. And one nice thing about that is that it'll radiate then at night into your air and into your feet. It's a good way to heat your home without any spending money, and definitely feels really good to sit in the sun on a Sunday afternoon.
We hope these things
And a blanket or two
will help you survive the winter.